and perhaps again, and if once in a while a rat turns viciously on you and just becomes a total vicious killer, which is really what I was.
The man in the video is 37-year-old Bernhard Goetz, a man who made headlines when he defended himself against would-be muggers in a subway car in New York City. His actions would spark a series of debates over race and crime, the limits of self-defense, and to what extent citizens can rely on the police for protection.
If I had more bullets, I would have shot them all again and again. My problem was I ran out of bullets, and I was gonna gouge one of the guy's eyes out with my keys afterwards. You can't understand this. I know you can't understand this. That's fine. The only reason I didn't do it is because he had changed his look. He had changed his look. You'll understand.
It was a Saturday afternoon, December 22nd, 1984, just days before Christmas. Bernhard Goetz, a shy, divorced electronics engineer, left his apartment on Manhattan's 14th Street to meet some friends for holiday drinks. On a downtown subway train, he met 4 teenagers who would change his destiny in the rear of car number 7657, much like this one. The tall, lanky passenger was approached by at least one of the 4 black teenagers who asked for or demanded $5. Fearing he was about to be robbed and beaten, Goetz opened fire with an unlicensed .38 caliber handgun loaded with hollow point bullets. Troy Canty, the most brazen of the 4, the one who confronted Goetz, took a bullet in the chest. Barry Allen was hit in the upper back. James Ramseur was shot in the left arm and chest. Darrell Caby was the most seriously wounded of the 4. Goetz's bullet pierced his lower back, crossing his body, severing his spinal cord, paralyzing him instantly. It was initially believed he was shot while still sitting on a subway seat. His position when he was hit was later to be a key point during Goetz's trial. Darrell Caby later suffered brain damage after lapsing into a coma at the hospital and remains an invalid, confined to a wheelchair, living at home. After firing the fateful shots, Goetz ran from the subway car, heading down the tracks, exiting at Chambers Street Station, then disappearing into the city streets. A hero or villain, victim or vigilante.
Boys were shot and wounded when they solicited money from a man on the train. But the father of one of the victims says his son didn't ask for money at all.
One of his friends asked this man for the time.
The time of day.
Time of day. Yeah. And the man started shooting. The next thing he knew, he was in the hospital. He don't know nothing else. He tells me he got shot for nothing.
Police say the boys were armed with sharpened screwdrivers. One brother, wearing a mask because he was afraid of so-called police reprisals, told me his brother did carry a screwdriver for protection on the subways, but he said the request for money was a request and not a threat.
Brother said that he asked the man for $5. They kept asking the man, and the man got scared. He was scared of them because all the other 3 kids kept looking at him while Troy was asking.
He didn't try to rob the man.
He didn't try to rob him. He wanted to play the video games because they was going to 34th to play video games. They didn't have no money. He had to hop the train, and Troy didn't want to get no ticket because all he did, he got a penalty larceny case. That's all.
If it was me, I would have killed the guy. I mean, if it was me and I had to defend myself, I would have done exactly the same thing. And I think we've gotten to a point where it's not safe to be here. And we're all victims, and if we allow ourselves to be victimized, it's going to continue. And, I think we're going back to the wild days of the West when everyone's going to be carrying a gun.
A human is going to be a human, no matter what you are, black or white. You're going to defend what's yours. And they was after him, so naturally, he's going to react first. Chances are, if he wouldn't have shot them, they would have did something to him first. I mean, it's self-preservation.
9 days after the shooting, having fled to New England, Bernhard Goetz surrendered to police in Concord, New Hampshire that evening, stating simply, "I am the person they're seeking in New York." That evening, after 2 previous interrogations, the man the world would come to know as New York's so-called subway vigilante sat in a small room and bared his soul.
The moral issue, what is right and wrong, there are moral issues. You decide. I became a vicious animal, and if you think that is so terrible, I just wish anyone could have been there in my place. So anyone who's going to pass judgment, fine. I was vicious. My intent was to kill him. And you just decide what's right and wrong.
To understand why Goetz pulled the trigger, we must try and understand Goetz himself. 3 years before the shooting, In 1981, in broad daylight in Lower Manhattan, Goetz was attacked by 3 men on the street. He suffered permanent injuries and experienced the pain and trauma of a crime victim. The mugging left him bitter and angry about crime.
They deliberately went after my knee, and they got it. Like I got kicked in the knee, and then what hurts you, they didn't have weapons. And people, you don't have to be maimed with a weapon. What really hurts you is a sidewalk. They tried to push me through a plate glass door also, you know. When I hit the plate glass door, I'm in good physical shape. I can do, you know, push-ups standing on my hands. I pushed as hard as I could when I hit that door with my hands. I still hit that door so hard, the glass hard. The glass didn't break, thank God, you know, because that would have been it. But the handle, the handle hit my chest. And afterwards, now, I was a wreck. I was hyperactivity for about 4 days after that. I went up to Connecticut to work and everything, and 4 days later I checked into an emergency room. Man, my chest was messed up. That took about 6 months to heal. And I had a bad knee, which I have a permanent bad knee from that. When it came time to write up the charges and stuff, the DA, who was a young woman, was there. She was sitting down. She was just doing her routine work until she had to get to me. Then a young man in a suit came in, and he said, well, whatever. He said something, whatever. And what they did is, while I'm sitting there, they went out to dinner. And they came back about an hour later. And when all was said and done, he was charged with ripping and this and that, my jacket. They had ripped the pockets off. You find this unbelievable, don't you? Well, I have records on it. Okay? I asked for he got charged. The charge was mischievous mischief. I didn't even know if there is such a charge. I never heard of such a thing. So I was there in 6 hours, 5 minutes, boom, whatever. That taught me a lot. That had nothing to do with this. But it taught me several things. It taught me that there are vicious people out there. It taught me that anything can happen. Now, you don't know violence like I do. The worst thing about violence, when my kneecap gave in, it didn't even hurt. It was like, when my knee gave in when I hit the concrete, it was like, I know you've all eaten Rice Krispies. It was like if you take a Rice Krispie that's a little bit mushy and you squish it between your fingers. That's exactly what my knee felt like when it happened. Okay? Now, excuse me, I lost my train of thought. What this taught me, the worst thing about violence is not even what happens, but you do not know the next moment. It's not knowing what will happen next. And there's no way that you can understand that unless if you've been in the same position.
They kept punching him and kicking him and attempted to throw him right through a plate glass window. In his own mind, he couldn't imagine. They got what they wanted. He wasn't resisting. He wasn't Bruce Lee or Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Predator. He was Pee Wee Herman. And he just, for the life of him, couldn't understand that. To then go to the point where he felt he needed to carry a weapon, even though he knew he was doing it illegally according to our state laws, is a major transcension. And I believe that he had to go that route because it was either pack your bags, wave the white flag, say boom, go off to Sarasota where he owned property, or stay and protect yourself with the only visible physical means he knew would actually deter an assault. I was
attacked then. I was attacked. The next day I was carrying a gun. That was it. Okay, now
you got a gun immediately after that?
Yes. Look, you can buy guns, you can buy heroin. Oh, terrible, terrible. New York City is so concerned that people are carrying guns. Oh, they're because they want to. This is important to them. They're afraid the system is going to break down.
The gun you used in the shooting, did you get that gun then?
Look, you're so worried about these details. It doesn't matter where you get the gun.
Goetz's actions brought him celebrity status. He became somewhat of a national hero for vigilante justice. Bumper stickers with slogans like "Ride with Bernie," "He got some," were all over New York, and people were praising him for taking a stand against the crime-ridden city. Even more shocking than the support was the fact that beginning in 1995, the crime rate in New York rapidly declined. One of the most dangerous cities in the country soon became one of the safest, and Goetz supporters couldn't help but attribute it to their hero. At trial, Goetz's attorney argued the man feared he would be beaten to a pulp by the four youths. The mine went off. The body went into automatic pilot. Defense attorney Barry Schnecknick said in court, "People who are traumatized should not be convicted on the basis of their traumatization." A jury found Goetz guilty on one count of carrying an unlicensed firearm and acquitted him of the other charges. Goetz was sentenced to 6 months in jail, later extended to 1 year by appellate court. Goetz served 8 months of that sentence. As of 2014, Bernhard Goetz still lives in the same Union Square apartment he lived in on that fateful December day, and is still a supporter of vigilante justice, though he's not as personally involved in enacting it as he once was. Goetz said in a 2017 interview that he had no regrets about the shooting. "I don't think it's the type of thing you regret," he said, adding that there are many things in my life that I regret, and I've made many blunders. I don't think that that was one of them.